Hey everybody, I'm Melissa Sorrentino, the Improv Sophisticate. I'm here to talk to you about, today we're going to talk about negativity and the fact that negativity has no place in the theater. I want to first point out that the theater is supposed to be a safe place. It should be some place where we can express ourselves in a way that is unconventional compared to the way that we can, communicate in the normal so-called the city world outside of the walls of the theater. Theater, art, writing, anything where it's really like a creative endeavor, it requires a level of vulnerability that really needs even an extra dose or two of safety and kindness and understanding of the fact that we are opening ourselves up. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're being transparent and telling our life stories, although yes, certainly the art form of improv is going to open the door to people getting personal. Some forms have like a monologue, and often people will open up a whole show with just some sort of rather vulnerable childhood story. And, we're seeking some sort of humor in it, and we're usually kind of self-deprecating in some way, or somebody else deprecating. Geez, that sounds almost like a bad word, but it's a very vulnerable space, so we need to be mindful of that and be kind to each other. So I want to say, number one, negativity has no place here. The places for being negative and critical can be just sort of like left outside the door, because when we get into the theater, we want to be free. We want to kind of like, smear that finger paint around and be able to have that, just freedom, that space, that vulnerable safety to be able to go to places and to talk about things that may be kind of real, but also just to behave in ways that normally we can't get away with, use a weird accent that we suck at, explore a subject matter that usually would be taboo or something that you really probably can't talk about at work or even at home. Be able to use different physical, sillinesses. Be able to just goof around and act kind of like a child and act kind of like a goofball. We can do that on some level in life, and I'm kind of to a point in my life where I just act like that almost all the time anyway, and people put up with it, I guess, because I usually present it with a level of confidence that I'm like, what? Everybody's not weird? But so negativity, no place in the theater. Safety is very important. We need to feel safe, and I'm not talking about like the whole sexual harassment stuff. That's a whole subject of its own that probably deserves its own video. I don't know that I consider myself an expert in that, but I'm a female, I've been violated a time or two, and, sometimes subtly and sometimes overtly. One of the things particular to improv is that since you're writing while you're up there, you can't really always think, and your normal filter isn't quite as strong as it maybe always is. So I say a rule of thumb is don't take anything personally and don't mean anything personally. Now, if somebody sort of blurts something out that they normally would have governed or filtered, you don't know necessarily, you can't necessarily conclude that they had some passive-aggressive thing against you. And if you're going around with a chip on your shoulder and you're quick to be offended, the improv theater is probably not going to be a very comfortable place for you, because you do need to have a relatively thick skin when you're up there, your skin should be thin so you can have emotional responses, but it needs to be thick as an actor to be able to be okay, this is just a scene. Okay, somebody labeled me as this. That doesn't mean they think that of me. That's just a label that they're putting on me, or, a gift, whatever word you're used to saying, but they might give you a physical attribute that you don't like. I say, please don't take it personally. Now, the flip side of that coin is don't mean it personally. Being on stage with an improviser, you guys have actually kind of a rule that says, yes, I'm going to say yes to what you say, and then I'm going to embrace it with an additional piece of information that embellishes what you said, and we're going to build back and forth onto each other for the scene work. You know, that's basic yes and. If you've taken Improv 1, you get that. But it also can open us up to a dangerous place if there are people who are, you know, like covert manipulators or jerk faces or something. They can on purpose say things and know that you have to say yes. And if those people are in the theater, I hope and pray that just by sheer probably lack of talent, they're going to get weeded out. But that's a bullshit move. If you're on stage and somebody calls out a piece of information that you don't want to personally say yes to, and you kind of feel like you have to because that's the rule of the scene, I say just stick with the process of improv itself. You can, you know, evaluate whether or not that was some sort of like personal thing on the way home, and you can make those personal evaluations about who you want to play with and who you want to be friends with and what you feel comfortable with and what you don't. But in the midst of a scene, not really the place to kind of start hashing out that kind of crap. It's unpleasant for the audience. It's not their fault. It's unpleasant for the rest of your improv team. Nobody knows what's going on. And very, very likely, and sometimes even probably, the person that tossed out the thing really just was in the middle of a moment of a scene. They might be thinking of a movie. They might be thinking of something they heard on the radio in the car on the way to the class. They are not necessarily trying to insult you. So if you're somebody that takes things personally, you're really going to have a hard time. But if you're somebody that means things personally, get the fuck out. Just take your shit, pack it up, and get the hell out. That's all I have to say, because that is bullshit nonsense. Go find somebody else to prey on. Don't prey on a room full of vulnerable artists trying to do their craft, okay? For reals. That's what I have to say. All right. And then the last point I want to make before I close out this video, because it got a little bit dark there, but seriously, I think anybody who's been around for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And some of those people are just like, you got no business in a theater if you're going to be using that to, you know, boost your own ego and put other people down. That is nonsense. It is not art, and it is just bullying. Now, the last thing I want to leave you guys with is this. Shake things off. Really work on the ways that work for you personally to shake things off. I have little things that I can do to shake things off. For me, it's very big in the like forgiveness category. Let it go, forgive, bury the hatchet, remember shit that I've done, you know, let he who is without sin cast the first stone, kind of scriptures come to my mind. I have other very practical tools that I use to shake things off, and to actually shake acting in theater, and even like little rituals that I would do on the way home from an audition to be like, I remove myself from the results of this audition. What's done is done. And then, you know, if the phone, if the phone rings later, then yeah, awesome. That's like, that would be a surprise. But I've already purged that and moved to the next thing. Moving to the next thing is a proactive way to let go of the last thing. I'm thinking of that phrase, like the easiest way to get somebody off you is to get under somebody else or something. I don't know, it's some dirty thing about dating. But that's what I want to leave you guys with, okay? Negativity's got no place in the theater. Don't take things personally. Don't mean things personally. Don't use the yes and rule as some form to manipulate people. And also when you're on the receiving end of that and you feel like you're getting manipulated, don't even just ignore it and play the scene. And then last but not least, shake it off. All right, kids, I hope this is helpful to you. I know it's a little bit deep, so that in the privacy of this device that you're watching me on, and you and me, we can have these moments together, okay? You don't even have to tell anybody what's going through your mind. That's your private business. Okay, my name is Melissa Sorrentino. This is the Improv Sophisticate. Please click like if you do enjoy this video or other ones. That's going to help me gauge what kinds of things people enjoy watching and what kinds of things that when somebody first logs on to my channel for the first time, it'll give them an indication of what's the more popular videos versus the most, the least popular videos, and they'll know, hey, this one's got like a ton more views. I'm going to click on this guy first. So help everybody out with that, and we'll all kind of know what everybody is enjoying and needing out of these types of things. All right, take care. Bye.